Welcome back to FantasyFran.com. Fran, we're going to talk about the top defenses week one. And you came out of nowhere with this #1 pick, and I've been getting stuff on Twitter and Facebook. How in the world can you go with Detroit as your #1 defense?
I played with the Purple People Eaters, and our defense was very average except for our front four. And it was really three guys, Alan Page, Carl Eller, and Jim Marshall. They were game changers. They made our defense the #1 defense in football because we could rush the passer with 4 players, really with 3. And then we could drop 8 back in coverage, and so it made the defense better. Detroit can do the same thing. Detroit can get to the passer with 4 people. And how you say Sue's first name?
Ndamukong
Sue. He is a second-year player. He is the best defensive lineman in football today. He is mean, he's big, he's fast, you cannot block him. When you can put pressure with 4 people, 4 down linemen, and put the rest in coverage, you can play defense. And they're playing Tampa Bay, who is trying to find themselves. Young quarterback, again, I like them, but they will wreak havoc on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Detroit is going to be the best defense, one of the best defenses all year long. I like them this year against Tampa Bay, who are not an explosive offense.
Now, even with Nick Fairley out, word is he's probably going to be out week 1. You're still confident with your pick
this
here.
defense is great without Nick Fairley. Nick Fairley is going to make them better. But they were rock strong, solid last year. Nobody wanted to play the Detroit Lions. I talk to these teams all the time and talk to these coaches. Nobody wants to play Detroit. They're just too tough defense.
Now, I'll tell you who else I like on that Detroit defense is Stephen Tulloch. I think he's coming into himself as a middle linebacker, gets a lot of tackles. And so if you have a defensive league where you're picking defensive players, look at Stephen Tulloch. Look at his tackles. He's going to get you some points this year. #2, solid defense. How can you go against them?
2 and 3 are going to be playing against each other. I have 2 Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is just Dick LeBeau, their defensive coach. I played against for years, played in Pro Bowls with him. He was a defensive cornerback for the Detroit Lions, and he was a really good one. And I played in about 7 Pro Bowls with him. I would have never thought in a million years he was going to be one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time, but he is. He's the guy that you want as your defensive coordinator because he'll come at you from all different ways. He'll confuse your blocking. He's just great, and he's got great talent at Pittsburgh. They're so rock solid, and Baltimore's not a great offensive team anyway.
Agreed.
And so they've got challenges there. So I think I put Pittsburgh #2, but on the other hand, I put Baltimore #3 because they got the man, Ray Lewis, maybe the greatest leader on a football team that I've ever seen in my years of playing and watching football. This guy has been incredible. He's been there forever. He still plays at a high level. He's physically not what he was, 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Makes no difference. He wills. You better play around him really good. He wills the rest of the players to play great. Baltimore will wreak havoc on Pittsburgh. They know each other so well, it's really hard for the offenses. It's a 10-7 game, 13-10 game. It's a low-scoring game, and that's why I put both of them 2 and 3.
Well, and I think the other interesting thing that people will forget about until they watch the game is we're watching 2 of the best safeties in all of football with Troy Polamalu on the Steelers and Ed Reed on Baltimore. I mean, even though he's lost a step, some people say, he missed half the season last year and I think still led the league in interceptions.
Ed Reed has made more big plays at safety man than anybody that I have ever seen. He not only makes the play, he tackles, makes the interception, but he takes it to the house.
Almost every time.
And he's been incredible, and it's going to be a great game. The Baltimore-Pittsburgh game always is a great game. But now #4, New York. I got New York Jets. Now, Rex Ryan's father, Buddy Ryan, coached with us in Minnesota in our heyday when we were winning championships and going to Super Bowls. He was an assistant defensive coach. Quiet. He was quiet. But his 2 boys were there as ball boys for the Vikings. And so I knew him back then. I never knew that they would get to where they are now. I think Rex Ryan is good for football. He is a really smart coach. I would love to play for a Rex Ryan. He's a player's coach. He understands football. He comes from a history of football. His dad was a brilliant coach. And their defense will be unbelievable. And they not only are physically gifted, but he's going to beat you with all types of schemes. He'll have all kind of blitzes, and he'll have all of his linemen stand up, and he'll have them in all different formations before you start. He confuses Tom Brady. He drives Tom Brady crazy. So what's he going to do against Tony Romo? Huh? Tony Romo?
Exactly.
You know, he gets driven crazy just getting to the ballpark. I mean, my God. And so the Jets, Dallas, Tony Romo, and they're playing Sunday night in New York. I think the Jets just shut Dallas right.
Well, I have to agree, and I think Darrelle Revis is going to have an even better year this year than last year, and Bart Scott, a total stud at linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, they got a great secondary. They can play man-on-man coverage, and they can send 8 people if they want to, and they can still cover. The 5th team, Philadelphia. I like this pick. I think they got 2 of the best cornerbacks in football.
Asamoah and Asante Samuel.
Asante Samuel. And they're 2 of the best cornerbacks in football. I think that guy you just said his name from Oakland was a great pickup. And I can't say his name, but when you have 2 cornerbacks like that, it allows you again to do all the blitzing. And it's too bad that Jimmy Johnson died a couple of years ago, the great defensive coach of Philadelphia, who loved to blitz. With these 2 cornerbacks who can shut you down, he could have done. You couldn't have scored against him.
Agreed. Well, and they have a 3rd cornerback who kind of gets lost in the shuffle, Rogers Cromartie, who was great
from Arizona. Yeah, you've got 3 guys. So and you know what? In today's modern day football, when they put 4 wideouts out, you got to have 3 cornerbacks, 4 cornerbacks who can play, because you got to play them against 3 wideouts or 4 wideouts. Philadelphia can do that. Now, I like Sam Bradford at St. Louis. I think he's going to be a really good player. He'll probably struggle a little more in the 2nd year than the 1st year, because that's a tendency for quarterbacks. You play on your instinct the 1st year, the 2nd year you think you know a little bit more than you do know, and you get in more trouble. I think Philadelphia is a team to be reckoned with all season. St. Louis is still trying to find itself. I think Philadelphia will shut them down pretty good this week.
Philadelphia took a lot of heat, especially Andy Reid, for giving the defensive coordinator job to their offensive line coach, Juan Castillo. So far in the preseason, everything looks good, but can an offensive line coach step in and truly understand what it takes to...
Real coaches, an offensive line coach can coach defensive line, backfield coach can coach a secondary. It's all interchangeable because you're football coaches. If you're a football coach, you've got to know every position, and they do. And Andy Reid knows what he's doing. Andy Reid is a great, great, great head coach. And if Andy Reid thinks he can go be the defensive coach, you bet your booty he can be the defensive coach. And I think Philadelphia's going to be an interesting team to watch this year, because I think the rest of that division is really kind of down. The Giants are down, the Redskins are down, and the Cowboys, I don't think they've ever been found.
I like the way you put it, Fran. All right, well, folks, when we come back, top kickers week 1 right here, fantasyfran.com.